Hey, we're gonna tie a Cowen something else fly. It's basically a Polar Fibre craft fur type of Clouser. But I'm gonna be tying this for an upcoming trip here in a couple of weeks to Lake Lenore for some striper fishing. And the craft fur I'm gonna use is gonna be Polar Fibre. You can do it in olive, chartreuse, gray, whatever. I'll cover the materials as we go along. But I want to share a little tip on using craft fur. Might make it easier for you. You can always, like I used to do, just pull it off and cut the fibers off. But little trick that I've learned recently is to cut it in strips like this, and you don't want to cut all the way through it. You'll just want to maybe about an inch or 3/4 of an inch, and just short strokes. You're not cutting too much of the fiber, and just pushing that bottom blade through there, and then you got something you can control or maybe help measure a little bit for being more consistent. But this is enough to do three of these flies right there, and we're gonna want some white and some olive or chartreuse or gray type of material to tie this fly with. Why don't we go ahead and we'll get started on it. So we'll change our point of view here. This is what the fly looks like. You can see that it's basically a Clouser. It's gonna swim kind of like upside down, almost make it weedless, similar to a Clouser. And but we're going to be tying this one in with some gray fibers. All right, why don't we go ahead and get started? We'll take this out, and that's about a 2.5, maybe a 3-inch fly. The hook we're going to use, I'm going to use a Kona size 4 extra strong stinger hook. You could use Gamakatsu B10, things like that. Since the reports are for Lake Lanier is small shad style thing, so we're sizing this on a size 4. And of course, I'm going to give the fish a chance, even though we're supposed to be fishing a team thing there. I'm going to debarb my hook. I'll let my teammates maybe hook and keep them on there, but I think using a debarbed hook makes you a better angler for fighting the fish, and a better sportsman to getting that quick release to let them go. Only kidding, I don't know. On there. The thread we're going to use is going to be a monofilament. I think a .006 or something like that. And we'll start right behind the eye of the hook. And since it's very similar to a Clouser, I'm going to go about an eye's eye width back on there. And I need some eyes. Where did my eyes go? Oh, okay. I'm going to use some dumbbell eyes. I'm going to use some black ones here without pupils. Solid black and medium. And as usual, since I'm going to measure the width there, I'm going to make sure my thread is ended about the end of the length of the barbell. And since I'm using monofilament, I'm going to put a little bit of super glue to help tie it down. This is some pretty slick stuff on there. Kind of hard to work with. You could use white thread if you wanted, but what's nice about the monofilament, it transitions that color that's underneath there on the materials. And I like to always look down from the eye of the hook backwards. And then I'll add a little bit of super glue on top of the monofilament to help secure that eye in there. And we'll kind of go even. Wraps around that, maybe a yoke thing here to help tie it in, and a little helicopter. And our next bit of material will be some craft fur in white. Kind of get rid of any loose fibers in there. And we're going to want this roughly 2 hook lengths. Give it a couple tight turns there, pulling up on it. Then we'll go back behind the eyes to secure it. Just similar to a Clouser, except we're going to do some tight close wraps instead of some open spiral wraps. Don't pull on this too hard so you're not pulling it out, but I'm going to take some small cuts with my scissors. Not trying to cut it off all in one spot. And this way helps minimize the amount of material I'm leaving behind. the different scissors. With craft fur, you need some good sharp scissors to, or this polar fiber anyway. On there. And the next material we're going to put on is going to be some crystal flash in there, you know, maybe 3 or 4 or whatever you like to use for crystal flash. If you like a lot of crystal flash, maybe you might want to go more. You know, I'm going to probably do 3 or 4. And then we're going to put it under our thread. And then divide it in half so that the hook point is separating it. And then we'll trim that about the length of the craft fur, maybe a little longer. The next material we're going to use is some floral fiber. I'm going to use it in red. That's going to help make our gills. And maybe about an inch of it. And we'll probably still trim that a little bit. So that it's no further than maybe the back of the hook or between the hook point and the bend of the hook, just to give it a hint of a gill. And the next material we're going to use some of that gray craft fur, And if you just can't find gray, you know, olive gray or blue dun gray. And we're going to want that maybe slightly longer. And since we don't have two tie-in points on this, we're going to be extra careful. Trying not to pull on it. Oh, darn. Did that again. Did that again. Broke my monofilament. But not a big thing. Just start your thread again. And then we just clean up, make a good looking head. Try to cover all those. And then when you got a good head build up, we're gonna whip finish. And then we'll go ahead and put some UV finish on there, on those eyes. or not the eyes, but you know, to protect that thread. I like to put a little on that exposed thread back there. That looks like maybe I got something in the eye, but it's not there now. And there you have it. That's a completed something else from Mr. Cowen. White and gray. All right. Hopefully it'll catch some stripers and we'll be able to report on that.